Welcome to In the City Live. We're back at Cardiff City Stadium for league action. The internationals are over. Wales are through to Euro 2016. I'm happy to say Cardiff City are back here on home soil for this Sky Bet Championship fixture against High Fly in Middlesbrough. The teams are out. We've spoken to Russell Slade. And first of all, let's have a look at the Cardiff City starting lineup. There's changes due to injuries predominantly. Little Knox picked up on the weekend. David Marshall retains his place in goal. Fabio's back in the side at left back following that suspension, which sees Scott Malone drop to the bench. Lee Peltier right back, centre half pairing of Matt Connolly and Sean Morrison, as it has been all season, in fairness. In midfield, this is where the real changes have happened. Aaron Gunnarson's come back into the side in place of Joe Rawls, which means Peter Whittam's moved out to the left of midfield as he played for so many years earlier in his career. Kagisho Takashwi sits with Gunnarsson in the middle, with Craig Noon starting on the right, and a top two of Joe Mason and Alex Ravel back in the starting lineup. There's a lot to talk about there, Ash. Plenty of options for Cardiff, as we know, in this squad, and interesting to see how that midfield dynamic works tonight.
I think that's the most important part of this Cardiff City lineup, is that solid base that you have there in the midfield. You're not going to come up against two more battling players in this division than Adam Clayton and Grant Ledbetter as a midfield too. I think it's a very, very shrewd move on the part of the Cardiff coaching staff to send Aaron Gunnarsson and Kagisho Takashwi up against them. It's a selection issue made slightly easier, of course, by the injury to Joe Rawls, and it just means that Peter Whittingham slides across into that narrow inside left position. And I think there's two players in the team today that absolutely deserve to, for the way that they came on and were instrumental in very nearly getting Cardiff all 3 points on the weekend, which, let's be fair, for a large part of that it looked like being the 0-0 draw that it ended up being, but Cardiff made much more of a fist of it as an attacking outfit in the second half, and Craig Noon and Alex Ravel are those two men that very nearly were the two men that unlocked the door.
Kenwyn Jones not in the 18 tonight. He's injured, picked up a knock on international duty. He'll be out for a week or two. The bigger news is Bruno Manga. He picked up an injury the day after an international in training. He'll be out until around Christmas time with a grade 3 groin tear, which is bad news for Cardiff City fans. But we do have that strength in depth. Just looking at one or two of the boys who've dropped out tonight, Scott Malone on the bench may feel a little hard done by, but it just goes to show the faith in Fabio, how he's come on this season.
Yeah, it was a strange one for Scott on Saturday, because we all know what he offers to the team, and I think arguably when he has played, he's been as good as anyone in a Cardiff jersey this season. However, on Saturday he didn't really give us that outlet on the left hand side that he has done. He was quite solid as a defensive left back. The entire back five for Cardiff was solid on the weekend, but they managed to stifle Scott Malone a little bit, and as you said, freshening up again, Fabio De Silva, who's been in great form this season, comes back in, and there is a real, even with the injuries of Ben Turner, Bruno Manga recently picked up, Kenwyn Jones recently picked up an injury. That's still a really strong look. Matty Kennedy back on the bench this evening. We haven't seen him this season, and really he was an integral figure for 3 or 4 weeks at the end of last season when our upturning fortune came about.
May have been something to do with the yellow hair he came back from pre-season with. He's tweeted today that the yellow hair is gone. So maybe that's his sign that he's ready to kick things off for himself this season. That's our opinion, that's Ash's opinion on it, really, on team selection and the one or two things that Russell Slade's changed. Let's speak to the manager now and see just why he made these changes and what he's thinking ahead of this test against Middlesbrough.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yes, so bit of a frustrating second half away at Preston in terms of in front of goal and the chances created, and good defending by Preston, so a chance to arrest that straight away just 3 days later.
Yeah, I think we need to pick up from where we left off, really, because we were much better in the second period against Preston. For whatever reason, really, we didn't have a great first half. It was a poor first half from us. But yeah, I mean, obviously we got a tough opposition tonight, and we need to improve again, that's without doubt.
Yeah, but a clean sheet on the road, which you can never be sniffed at, especially at this level, and a real test now at coming back at home against, like you said, one of the best teams at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take the clean sheet again, obviously, and that's very, very important in any promotion push, that you keep a number of clean sheets. And then we hope we can be positive up front and ruthless in that final third, and ensure that we get lots of shots on target and get ourselves a couple of goals.
And in terms of personnel, I need to freshen things up a little bit this evening in terms of tired legs. So
yeah,
a new shape midfield.
Yeah, I think after the international break, we have the games and they come thick and fast now. And also we've picked up one or two little knocks or injuries, as Joe Rouse has obviously unavailable tonight. So we've made a few changes. Aaron Gunnarsson's come in, Noon makes another start, and Fabio comes in after suspension. So there's three major ones there, and Revell up front, obviously, for Sammy, who's back on the bench.
In terms of a really solid-looking midfield duo, in terms of Kagisho and Aaron Gunnarsson, and two players in Aaron and Craig, who I'm imagining will be really champing at the bit to get this place in the start.
Yeah. Look, you want that. You want players to come in and react and be really positive, and I'm sure we'll get that from there. I think there'll be some energy. I think there'll be roll the sleeves up, and let's hope we can get after Middlesbrough when it's necessary tonight. And
in doing that, Alex Revell, you spoke about him up front. He made a real difference when he came off the bench on Saturday, and he'll be instrumental in occupying those two young Middlesbrough centre halves this afternoon.
Yeah. One thing tonight, Alex will give you an absolutely 100%. In Joe Mason alongside him, the work ethic will be terrific.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So that's Russell's thoughts on team selection tonight. Plenty of changes, as we said prior to that. As for Middlesbrough, they're flying again. Should have gone up last season, shouldn't they? They missed out in the playoff final against Norwich after having the best defensive unit pretty much for the majority of that campaign. Missed out at the final hurdle, as we did so often in previous years before we got to the Premier League in 2013. So let's have a look at the Middlesbrough side tonight. There's plenty of household names in there, really. David Nugent up front starting now. He's come in. There's no Kike tonight, who scored here last season. He's leading the line after coming in from Leicester. Stewart down in one side of him, Albert Adoma the other. There's plenty of attacking talent there.
It is, and much like ourselves, they've freshened up this team from the weekend as well. Albert Adoma comes back in. Carlos de Pena got the start on the week, so that means Stewart Downing probably switches over to his natural left position. Adoma coming in on the right. I mean, that's a scary looking two wide men if you're playing on the counter-attack, especially with the likes of Diego Fabrini, who was kind of a forgotten man at Watford for so many years. Him and Fernando Forestieri in many regards, and in the last 6 months they've both gone out on loan moves or permanent moves elsewhere, and they've really done the business, shown what fine players they were, really stifled in their time at Watford. Nugent, like I said, I think he's as guaranteed goals as there is at this level. He does it time and time again, and I thought actually he was quite unfair that he dropped down the pecking order at Leicester, because I thought he had a very good season last year. Maybe his goal tally at the end of the year didn't really show exactly how important he was to that Leicester team at times, and he did say, this was the strongest defensive unit in the Championship last year, and there's a change to that unit. There's two changes, in fact, from what we saw for most of last season. Young Ben Gibson, I'm surprised, drops out of this team. He's a regular in the England under-21 squad as well, which shows how highly he's thought of, because you see it time and time again. You need to be on the periphery of a Premier League squad, and suddenly you're called up to the England under-21s, where you've got fine players playing week in, week out at the Championship level, and they're often overlooked. Not Ben Gibson, he's thought very highly of, but he drops out again today, and Fernando Amobieta comes back in. He's played for Atletico Bilbao. We know about him, played against us for Fulham a few times, spent the second half of last season on loan at Middlesbrough, and predominantly played at left back with George Friend's injury, but he comes in at left side of centre half this evening, and alongside Dan Ayala, who was at the core of that fine defensive record last year. If there's a weakness, I'm not sure there is, maybe at right back, where Thomas Callas is a centre half and he's playing out the position at right back.
What about the goalkeeper? You mentioned weaknesses. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Tell me how Dimi Konstantopoulos has come on from the time when he was at Cardiff.
He's not the goalkeeper we saw at Cardiff. I think it's so different. There's two positions on the pitch that's so difficult when you go on a loan move or a short move to another club. It's a striker and it's a goalkeeper. You're only one mistake away from being derided by the fans. You're only one miss away from being derided by the fans, and I think that's exactly what happened to Dimi when he was here at Cardiff. He's such a confidence player. He was a wonderful goalkeeper earlier in his career at Coventry before he came to Cardiff. He did really well at Swansea, ironically, after he left Cardiff, and he's done magnificently well in the last 2 years at Middlesbrough. And you look at some of the keepers that ostensibly he's forced out to this club. Shay Given was here on loan, couldn't get a look in. Jason Steele was the first team regular for 3 seasons. He's gone to Blackburn. He's been forced out by Konstantopoulos. That's how good he's been the last 2 years. However, I completely agree with what you're saying. There is a ricket in him.
Now, for me, you haven't mentioned it, and I know you haven't mentioned centre midfield because it's the part of this team that you've been gushing about all afternoon, but those two in the middle of the park, Adam Clayton, Grant Ledbetter, Is there any better at this level?
Probably not. No, it's certainly in terms of setting a solid base for a 4-2-3-1 formation. I can't think of many more. A lot of times when teams are playing the 4-2-3-1, they're looking for that balance between a holding midfielder and a ball player, and hoping that gives them enough of a base. Middlesbrough don't worry about that. They play two battling holding midfielders who can also move the ball efficiently, but that really gives them a solid foundation, and it means on the counter-attack, with those sat deep and the three men in front of them with pace, they can really attack teams with gusto.
What's on the bench, Ash?
On the bench, it's a strong-looking bench, as you'd expect. Two very good-looking young centre-halves. Ben Gibson I've already mentioned. Jack Stevens, who probably came to you with first-team aspirations this season, unfortunately beset by an early season injury. He was magnificent to Swindon last year on loan. Could have got promoted, lost in the playoff final, much like the team he's joined. On loan from Southampton. I'm sure Southampton will look to have him back next year and look to progress him even further. He's a very, very fine player. And Sue will cover both full-back roles. Adam Forshaw's a funny one. He's not. He needs to decide what he is, whether he's a central midfielder or a number 10, because this is his third club in as many seasons now. He had a very short stint at Wigan, as a lot of people did last season, to be fair, having really impressed at Brighton. At Brentford before that, and now he's at Middlesbrough, not really getting much game time here either. So he's a dangerous player off the bench, and a player that would probably start for most Championship clubs. And well, you've mentioned him already, the man on the bench up front. They're missing Christian Stuani. He's had a really good start of the season, the Uruguayan striker. He's not fit to take the bench today, but on the bench they do have a player with recent goals against Cardiff City.
Thanks, Ash. Incredibly well read and informative as always. That's it from us tonight in terms of build-up. For now, it's get ready for the game. Head over to Cardiff City Play at commentary. Ash and I will be on there this evening. No Shep tonight. We'll be commentating live on this one. Cardiff City at Middlesbrough. It kicks off at 7:45. We'll be on air from 7:35, and we'll talk you through this one. Hopefully to 3 points for Cardiff City. Enjoy.